I'm Mark Kelly in Mr. Saltwater Tank, and this is Mr. Saltwater Tank TV. One of the most popular features of light-emitting diodes, or LEDs, is your ability to control them. You can ramp up and down the intensity of the light, control individual color channels. You can create any kind of lighting effect that you can dream of. And AquaIlluminations recently finally released their newest fixture, the Vega. However, this show isn't about the Vega. It's about AquaIlluminations' wireless controller. Why is it about the controller? Because with LEDs, it's all about controllability, and there's more to this controller than meets the eye. The AquaIlluminations wireless controller is, well, it's a wireless controller. That means you don't have to be physically plugged into the light to control it. Now, this is only true of lights that are configured with wireless capabilities. Now, that would be the AquaIlluminations Vega light. The wireless controller is backwards compatible to the Soul or the Soul Nano via wireless add-on adapter or physical corded connection. You can set up to 30 timers, also known as set points, throughout the day. There's easy setup, where you set the time for the sun to come up and the time for the sun to come down. Then there's the ramp time, which is how quickly will the light ramp from your nighttime setting to the daytime setting. There's also manual control, which you reef junkies are going to love. That will let you program individual colors on the light to set up your own custom lighting program. Of course, there's a weather effects setting that includes cloud cover settings and lightning settings. There's also a lunar cycle setting, so you can simulate the moon rise and the moon set. And I also like that there's a coral acclimation setting. This will let you ramp up your intensity to acclimate your corals to the potentially stronger LED light. There's also a sweep option where you can set which way the sun sets, and a test run where you can run and see your whole program simulated throughout the day. As you can see, the AquaIlluminations wireless controller is nearly fully featured. And earlier in the show, I told you that there was more to the controller than meets the eye. Let me show you what I mean by that. The wireless controller does communicate with the lights wirelessly. However, it has no onboard battery, which means you have to be wired to some kind of power source for the wireless controller to power on and work. You either got to be plugged into your computer via USB connection or plugged into a wall outlet with the supplied power source. So it's wireless to the lights, but I can't be sitting here in my comfy chair without being plugged into some kind of power source. So it's wireless, but not quite wireless. I would like to see some kind of battery in here so that I can be wherever I want to control the lights. If I got to be plugged into a power source, I say why not be directly plugged into the light? Now, some people said, well, yeah, but then you got to get a long cord and snake it down the light fixture underneath your stand. Then you got to get underneath the stand to program the controller. That's not a lot of fun. This is true. Programming anything while you got your head crammed underneath the stand, not fun. However, once you get your program dialed in, you're going to set it and you're going to forget it. Sure, you're going to show off the lighting effects or the lightning storm to your buddies when they come over, but for the most part, it's going to sit underneath your stand and you're going to forget about it. So I'd like to see some kind of battery in here. Otherwise, you might as well just plug it into the light. Hopefully then it would power itself on and run the program. Something else that caught my eye, if the wireless controller isn't plugged in and powered on and communicating with the light, then the light doesn't run the program that you set up. Put it another way, if the wireless controller gets turned off, then the light is going to stay in the last state when it last communicated with the wireless controller. Let me show you what I mean. Lights on, wireless controller is on. Disconnect the wireless controller, the light stays on, and it stays in the last state that it was in when it talked to the controller. Now this is a red flag for me, because if the wireless controller gets disconnected, say when your light's in a high intensity setting, it's going to stay at that high intensity setting until you recognize the problem and do something about it. Now this is a problem for me. Let's say you're out of town, your tank buddy is servicing your tank, or your neighbor is servicing your tank, who's likely going to be an experienced saltwater tank keeper. They bump the wireless controller by accident, it gets turned off, the light stays on. They might not come back and check on your tank for 24 hours, maybe 4 to 8 hours. Light's going to stay on, maybe high intensity setting for hours, days on end. Very easily fry everything in your tank. I'd rather see that light turn off. Now, I asked AquaIlluminations, why doesn't the light remember its own program and turn itself off? And they said, well, the amount of system resources that it would take to have the light remember its program and communicate with other lights in the group to turn them all off was too great in their opinion, so they decided to have the wireless controller do all the talking and all the controlling. Me, I'd rather see the light cost maybe another 25 to 50 bucks so that it could handle that kind of system resource load or have the wireless controller have some kind of small battery built in such that if it got disconnected, it would go, oh, something's wrong, send down a signal to the light to shut off. That way it's fail-safe, it's going to protect your tank. Now, is it a very likely chance that the controller is going to happen to get bumped just right and become disconnected? No, but at the same time, if something can go wrong, it likely will go wrong. And we all know, of course, it's going to happen when you're out of town and on vacation, where it could be a bigger danger in this case because your light could stay on indefinitely. Something that caught my eye there, not quite comfortable with that fact. With those things in mind, what's my take on the AquaIlluminations wireless controller? Well, I do like that it's wireless communication for you to set up and control your lights. And I like to see some kind of battery built into the controller so that as true wireless, I can take it wherever I want without having to be tethered to some kind of power source. And the fact that it's not fail-safe, such that if the wireless controller gets disconnected and powered off, the light stays on indefinitely, that's too much of a red flag for me to recommend it. There's potential there for you to fry your tank if the light stays in a high intensity setting for hours, maybe days on end. There's just too much of a risk there for me to be comfortable. So if you're looking for an AquaIlluminations Vega light right now, here's what I would do. First, I would recommend waiting until AquaIlluminations releases their Director desktop software. I've seen the Director desktop software in action. It looks very nice. Hopefully, there's some kind of fail-safe built in such that it's communication between the light and the Director desktop software gets severed, the light is going to power down. And if you're dead set on having an AquaIlluminations Vega light right now, here's what I would do. Build yourself as many safety nets as you can. Make sure that the wireless controller is always plugged in and powered on. I would check it when you get up in the morning and check it at night, check it before you leave town, check it when you come back, and make sure if you have someone watching your tank, whether they're an experienced reef keeper or not, have them in their instructions for what to do while you're out of town to check the physical connection, make sure that controller is plugged in and powered on so that it's running the program that it will tell those lights to turn off per your schedule. There's a potential there to fry your tank if you leave your lights on for hours, days on end, like if you're out of town. Again, I don't want to sound like doomsday person, but again, if these things happen at the worst possible time, which is always when you're out of town. There's my take on the AquaIlluminations wireless controller. I'm Mark Calley and Mr. Saltwater Tank. This has been Mr. Saltwater Tank TV. Till next time, have a good one, enjoy your tanks, and know your tank personality.